How's everyone doing? Or whoever's on, how you doing so far today?
So far, pretty good, pretty good. My brother, he just told me about. He just gave me the number. He's on. He's gonna call in a second.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. That's good.
Yeah, my name is Patrice, brother. Patrice, by the way.
Oh, Patrice.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How you doing today?
Pretty good, brother. Pretty good. Oh, can you hold on 1 second? I got my other line.
Okay. Go ahead. What you gotta do?
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I'm back, brother. Where you calling from?
This is Houston, Texas.
Oh, okay. Yeah. My brother Ambu, he about to call right now.
Okay. Okay.
I'm in New York, though.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Brother Ambu, he always puts me on to on to the latest information. So I'm always trying to, I'm always trying to tune in. So I'm glad he, gave me this.
Rahul back?
Yeah, Rahul, this is Ambu.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Good. Good. What were you saying, brother?
Huh?
What were you saying, brother? Brother was talking?
Oh, nah, I was talking about my brother right now that just, he's the one that put me on. So
Okay.
I just listening, I get the latest information.
Okay.
All
right.
Make
sure that you mute out the background noise that you have in the back.
Okay.
Before we can move forward.
Yeah.
Or just mute yourself, before I go in, because I don't want anything to interfere with the class.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Tonight's class is going to be based on the third eye. I had classes similar to this last year called Christ Consciousness, but this is going to be a central focus class. This class primarily is going to be about the origin, mystical schools, and how to achieve it. First level is that, number one, realize the information that we've been given, or our information we've been given over the past 30 years is supposed to groom you to, number one, be your own master. Realize that my father, Dr. Malachi Z, is your spiritual master, but you are your own master, if you understand what I'm saying. You have a time and a place within your zero time reference where you make it to that level of being a master. Okay? There are people in different schools of thought, mystical schools all over the world, from Tibet to ancient Egypt to parts of India to parts of China, that study what the third eye is, the power of the third eye, what it means. They study it and they incorporate it into their life. And you have to understand that the American Negro in this society, the Nubian and African in this society, has just now come into knowledge of self as to what the third eye really is. We study it, we learn about it. It's heavy, it's deep to us, but to take it and to apply it to who you are as an individual, we have yet to do. That is what we're trying to get to now. Now, if you remember, and you take the Mind Book and the Living Soul chapter of the Holy Tablets, chapter 7, he spoke about clairvoyance, intuition, psychometry, and telepathy. And I'm about to break down all four. Telepathy was to be able to read someone's mind and can tell what they're saying without having them to give you any physical speech. Psychometry is to be able to take an object of that same individual and give a brief synopsis of that person's life. You take clairvoyance or clear vision to be able to see into not just past a doorway or past a specific window, but to be able to see into different dimensions. And then intuition, which is what women naturally have, and gets them, and which gives you an indication that they are closer to divinity than man is to be able to pick up on different situations before we're able to. Okay? But if you take all four of these and you square it off, it takes you right back into the same root that he talked about into both books, Living Soul Chapter, Holy Tablets, and the mind, which is a sensory of touch, a higher form of touch, the nerve sensor. And that's taking you right back into what the eye is that something is touching that nerve and is giving some type of physical photographic picture inside of your brain. So it's giving you something. That's why if you refer to the hidden meaning of Freemasonry in Egypt, he talked about you're not seeing outward, you're seeing out inward. You're getting certain messages that's given back to you, and you're able to compute it and understand it. That's what you're supposed to do. Now, the next level of that is when you see these different situations or these different things that you encounter throughout your life and your walks and your journey throughout life is, what exactly do you see? Okay? We have a deity, or let's say in Islam or in Hindu, the sisters wear what's called a bindi. We call it the Neith, from the deity Neith, which is her symbol, which would be the symbol of the third eye, which was what all mystical schools learn to achieve. Now, when you're trying to see something, or if you're doing your best to see something, what exactly do you see? Do you understand what you see? Do you only see things for face value? Examples. It's having supreme awareness of things around you, meaning that when someone's talking to you, do you only read what they say, or do you look past what they say? Okay? The third eye is what's called a strong sense of awareness of what someone is giving to you, even if it's nonverbal. Nonverbal communication is also a sense of the third eye, because it's not just about what someone's saying, it's what someone's doing, is what you can see. It's being able to see past what normal human beings can see. Example, the different exercises are being able to look at different movies, such as the movie that's being talked about, the controversial Django movie. There's different situations in that movie that the normal person can't see. Example, there's different killings in the movie where Jimmy Fox is killing different white people. If someone is able to notice that most of those killings, well, pretty much all the killings of the white race that he killed in that movie were a comical fashion. They weren't a serious fashion, because Quentin Tarantino knew that if he would have made a movie that showed an African killing white folks on a serious matter, chopping heads off and blood all over the place, et cetera, and you made it into a serious situation, that would have alarmed white folks. That's an example of being able to see into something and not just take it for just face value. Another example of the movie, realizing that Jamie Foxx's character, Django, was a protege of a white man. He had to have permission to kill white people before he was able to kill white people, meaning that the person who bought him or had him in a slight form of bondage gave him permission to do what he was doing. You understand what I'm saying? That is being able to see that, not just see, oh man, he's killing white people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. No. You have to be able to see something past what normal people are able to see in order for you to even qualify yourself to say, this is what I have. You understand? We go into the subject of the barytheric gland, which at one point you once had. It was in the hippocampus area of the brain, and it was taken away it was weeded out of you. Once we reduced our vibrational level down to where we are now, we lost that situation when once we began to worship, we lost where we were. Realize everything that you are learning on an esoteric level of the third eye, of the four higher senses, you once had before. That's why my father, Dr. Malachi Z said, you have a case of amnesia. Okay? When you're able to see past what normal human beings, male or female, can see, it's a supreme form of self-awareness. There you will qualify yourself to be en route to having it. You understand? Part of that is being able to eliminate every distraction of your life, because we all have distractions in our lives. And part of those distractions create something that we call the ego. You know, in the European paradigm of educational structure, they call it the id. Okay? But the ego is something that every human being shows to the world what they like people to think that they are. You understand? Not what self really is, but what you like to perceive yourself to be and what you want the world to think that you are. That means that you didn't take self and you did not cut off those edges into a perfect mold. You understand? You take, as we took in the Freemasonic school, we learned that, number one, for you to call yourself God, or for you to even believe in God, and to say that you have faith in God, and to say that He created you in His image, and you say God is perfect, and for you to say that you cannot be perfect, obviously that is a contradiction, because you're in God's image, so therefore you have a destiny to become perfect, or should we say, squared off. You understand? Once you can accept and no longer see my father as an apparition and see him as your spiritual master that is molding you to become your own master, then and only then will you be on the road to perfection. A lot of us still are under that same religious ideology when we see our spiritual masters. As he said in Mysteries of Egyptian Tape back in 1999, sometimes he may not say what you want him to say. He may not do the thing that you want him to do. But in the Holy Tablet, Human Beast chapter, Melchizedek didn't do the things that Moses wanted him to do. Therefore, he failed. There were 3 tests. He failed all 3. So he eliminated himself, because the biggest test that you test yourself on every day in this walk of life is patience. The biggest thing that us as masters fail to grasp is the school of patience. If you cannot grasp the school of patience, you do not and cannot deserve to get to the level of a master. Because he is your spiritual master. Again, he is your spiritual master, but you are the master. When we are where we are right now, which is vibrating on a slower frequency or a slower vibration, and we allow ourselves to be caught up in the devil's world of sounds and high-pitched noises, we have cut off ourselves to get in between what my father said in the Who and What Are You CD, the ret and the beat, that inner world in between the beat and that ret is where we should already be at this present time. If we're not already there, then we have work to do. Notice I didn't say me or you, I said we. And so if we're not at that specific point in time, we still have work to do. And the work happens when you begin to alleviate away from every distraction in your life. And we all know we have distractions. So we have to be able to accept that we have distractions. It's to be able to stop lying to yourself. Once you stop lying to yourself, then and only then can you truly get to the state of perfection. Our problem is that we consistently lie to each other and we lie to ourselves first. But the only person you truly cannot lie to is yourself, because you cannot lie to God. And once you lie to yourself, you have lied to God, and you have temporarily lost your mind, because you cannot do that. Because you cannot consistently tell yourself, I have nothing to work on. You understand? Those elders that you see on that wall, those 23 elders, the 24th seat is still vacant. They have elevated themselves to the better there, but they don't need to be reinserted because they're already there. Some were already at that level, and some were physical and raised themselves up. As the case as the mystical schools of Imhotep and Zalza, where Zalza was a teacher of Imhotep, and Imhotep raised himself past his teacher, past his spiritual master. So they were able, at one point, they were on a physical level, and they were able to raise themselves up to their eldership. You understand? So they were able to get to that level first. They were able to be on this physical level first. So they were examples of what we can be. They are examples of what we can be as a people. They did not see, they did not have the problem that we face and how we see our spiritual masters, because we only see them as an apparition and from a religious standpoint, as opposed to this is where I can get to. 720 degrees over 33 degrees is a level that my Father is at the perfected ashlar, the stone that has been perfected. And he is saying to you, this is an example of what you can be. Are you ready to take those steps to get to that next level? There are other mystical schools that are teaching the same information, but in the detail that my Father has been putting out over the past 40 years, they fall short. That is a divine reality. And when we move forward in our life and we're able to see, for example, when you're able to see even further who is around you, those that call themselves good, that those are ones that mean well and they are distractions in your life, and you're able to elevate past those distractions and see life on a play level. When I say play level, I mean not play around with life, but see as an acted out situation. We are doing our best now to see life in that way, not something that you act and take for granted, but something that you control, not as the actor, but as the director of the play itself. You understand? We are graduating into putting back on that mask of God, and you're looking back at all the things that you went through throughout your life and your multiple now points, your DNA explosions, in your higher level of elevation, that doorway you're trying to get into between beat and ret on the other side of the sun, and then from the other side of the sun, the other side of the black moon, getting past those two grids. That is the level that we're trying to get to now. Before you get to that level, you are at the moment of at least achieving that ESP, or extrasensory perception, to be able to see past what others cannot see, to be able to understand what someone is presenting to you, to see past what they're saying to you, and to be able to look at a situation and figure out exactly what the problem is and solve it yourself. To get past advice and become the advisor. You understand? That is where we're trying. That is where you and all of us are en route to getting to. If you're not on that route, you are wasting your time, and you are wasting my father's time. No longer waste your time. If you are still having doubt within yourself because of religion, leave now. Because where we are, there's no more time for doubt. None of those things are going to help you now, because you've already went on the other side of Nun. We're at the time of N-U-N, not N-O-O-N. We're at the time of N-U-N, which means that everyone who has fallen back and you have pushed away those distractions, then you can move forward. But as long as you're entertaining those situations, as long as you are allowing the devil and his ways and his music and his food and his TV to cloud your better judgment, you're dead. And there is no hope for you. You understand? Does anyone have any questions?
Yeah. Yeah, I got a couple questions. I mean, as far as like what you said in the beginning about the id and all of that, that's a false representation of ourselves. That's the same thing with the personality, right? Because usually, you know, in their world, they try to identify you by your personality. So these things these are all falsehoods, right?
Right. Because you created a mask that you wear out in public, and then once you close your doors, you become really who you really are, because you're not comfortable with self. Yourself is not comfortable with self. Leave the house, you put on the front to the wall that you got everything together and you're the decent man. But when you come inside, then that's who you really are. Where you really were comfortable with self and you really step into who really is, you would not have no need to put on a mask for anybody. The only mask you'd have to God.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because I know that all that stuff with the id, which is really like the ID identification, you know, it's just a false thing, like you said, to put you out there. You know, I experienced that when I was working and stuff like that. You know, corporate America, they try to use you, they try to put you in a position, you know, which is usually false. But you know, I never really fell into the, you know, trap, so I was always against that system. But the other thing I wanted to ask you about is the barytheric gland, right? As far as can that be regenerated, or do we have to all, like you said, because it's we that got to do the work. It's not just like one person. So what do we have to do to, as far as regenerating that? Is it like just staying away from, you know, like you said, the devil's food and his music and the TV and you know, the false thing they put on the music and the computer and all that?
Yeah, it's a distraction. Third gland can be achieved, but everything that you know allow you to get back to your eliminate everything. And it's like exactly what they are. We know exactly what they sound like. We know what the music sounds like. We know what they look. All those things that are detrimental to getting back to that level is what will not enable you to get to that level of glands. You know, if it wasn't meant to be achieved, we wouldn't know about it at all. He wouldn't have taught us it. So all that needed. The thing is, you need to be self-aware around you and be aware of the pollutants that's being fed inside. That's why I say whether it's food, whether it's TV, computer, distractions are all over. around you. Even if it's a physical individual, whether it's your wife, your mother, all these things, they are all distractions. But you have to make sure this person is you're either going to be an asset or a liability. They're either an asset or a liability to you. And having that, achieving a level of third eye is going to get you to have that self-awareness, who is and who isn't right for you. Because we like to deep and heavy, we like to talk about it, but get it down to this level. What the third eye is to have a self, a supreme sense of self. You understand what I'm saying? Is as people see past individuals, look, see what their intentions are with you. You're really trying to see, like if you read a book, it's telling you. Like if you read an example, The Science of Healing, you read it, what exactly is the book really trying to tell you information about the mystical schools of thought, the chakras, you read about the lotus, and all these things, how to heal yourself, what colors, what in this sense of healing, what purity, what is white purity, what is green is vitality, what is red is emotion, negativity. Really trying to say, if you are not able to read, put the piece together, pick up, which is that book, put the jigsaw puzzle together, and then you're still seeing it from an entertainment level. Obviously, that third eye's not open yet, but it's all about, again, having a supreme level of self-awareness. That's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
I understand.
Mm-hmm. Any more questions?
Yeah, I got a lot of questions. Now we're etheric beings, right? And we operate on a higher, we operate according to a non-ether plane, and I'm wondering, because like I know in in chemistry they associate ether with like things like alcohol and smells, right?
Right, it's a gas.
It's a gas. So does our nose have anything to do with our third eye and our etheric? Like, you know how we talk? Like, we talk about this all the time, how we talk. Like, we have more of a bass tone, you know what I mean, when we talk.
Right.
For example, the Tamahu talk more with their nostril. So does that mean that third eye is more closed than ours?
That means that they won't even achieve it.
They won't even.
They can learn it. You can learn about something. They can learn. The beast can learn about third eye all day. It's easy. You got to realize they study us. They study our likenesses. They study our abilities. They study our powers. They study our weaknesses, because we are his enemy. That's the reality. We are his enemy. So when they study the third eye, that's all they're doing is studying it. If an individual has a lack of something, which is the soul, because they don't share a soul with us. It's like, example, if me, you, and another sister, another brother are around, and we're having a cipher, and we are sharing what's called the soul. We are sharing the essence. We are sharing the ruach, and so or the ba. We share that at a specific time. If a white person comes in, they don't share it with you. They don't share that ethos at all. You understand? Or what they're trying to do, instead of share it with you, they're trying to absorb it. They're trying to absorb that salt. They're trying to absorb that ba from us and what we're creating.
And
so,
not to cut
but
and that's why when I was listening to Genetic Kitchen, that's why you say the caucasoid is always in your face, always trying to talk to you, always trying to breathe in and stuff like that. That's part of it, right?
Right, exactly. So when you're reading about etho or ether, gas, non-ether, you're reading about us as beings of what we were once able to do and what we can do as Africans, Nubians, or Nuwaupians. You understand? That is something that you are able to do. You understand now if you come across a melanated being who is, as we would call a mixed breed or whatnot, that melanin will dominate. That melanin will dominate that individual. Now, if you're dealing with a full-bred Caucasoid beast man, no. It's not going to happen because they're not connected to what we're connected to. They don't have non-ether. They don't have the ability to achieve what we are able to achieve on this level. So, therefore, all they can do is study it. They can study soul. When you look at music, most music you see now that whites are involved in are nothing but offshoots of what we as Nubians created years ago. Rock and roll, R&B, pop, hip-hop, all these music, all these different genres are basically sub-genres of what we created 50, 60, 70 years ago, from blues to jazz. You understand? So that's a confession to us as a people that, no, they don't have the ability themselves, but they try to get to where they try to get past that doorway into non-ether by absorbing and emulating. They can emulate a soul. They can learn of a soul. They can learn of a third eye. But they can never achieve it themselves. So they can consistently study under masters on what they think they can get into, but in the back of their mind, they know they can achieve it because they know they are the sub-race or the true sub-race of the planet Earth. And because us being non-ether beings, and at the level of getting behind the nine ball, and being able to accept what we can also accept and see past what they present to us and realize you can never be what I am anyway because you are beneath me. Us being his God, they can never get to where we are. Again, they can study it, read Science of Healing all day. They can read other information of the third eye and ESP and all these things. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, they can never achieve that specific ability, extrasensory perception, or the third eye, or the neath.
I understand.
Okay. Wonderful. Any more questions?
No. And I see why Doc was saying that the Delphonics, Luther Vandross, and all of them, they sung at high-pitched voices because that's the only way the white man will let them in the music business. And I see now that behind that, a lot of Tamahus are making albums now, like Justin Timberlake, the high pitch. All of them, they all got that high pitch. Right, exactly.
Yeah. You mentioned something, the tone, the sound of our voices. When you when you listen, I'm giving you an example. Not sure if anybody on the class has this CD, but it's Erykah Badu's CD, New America. She has a point where, not sure I can't remember what song it is, but it's a brother that's emulating, sound like a form of our language of Nuwaupu, where it's a tone that he's speaking as extremely deep. The vibration, the tone of it is extremely deep. And at that point, matter of fact, another example, if you remember True Light, at the end of every True Light tape, you had my grandfather, El Hadi, he would speak in Arabic, and the tone he would speak would be extremely deep. It would be an extremely deep tone. Extremely, extremely deep. You follow? You remember that?
Yeah, I know that brother that he told me about that when he did on the Erykah Badu. Yeah,
right, exactly. Right, exactly. That's our tone. That's our tone. That's our ability. That's the thing we have to, remember. Realize when you speak, when I speak, When a brother speaks, that's our tone. We have deep tones for a reason. You understand? Because we are connected. That is our parents. That is our relatives. And so when you hear those sounds, remember, those are hidden messages. When you hear, my father incorporated that sound of Al-Hadi reciting Arabic from the Quran for a reason. That wasn't, it was Islam. Yes, it was Islam. Giving you a tone, he was giving you a replica of a tone that was yours to begin with. So then when you hear Erykah Badu's song, and they're like, wow, that's nothing but a replica of what we were, or what we are. So when you listen to different, the Justin Timberlakes, the Robin Thicke's, these specific types of sounds, these high-pitched frequency sounds, they're trying to emulate what, the Barry Whites of the world are, or the Teddy Pendergrasses of the world are. You understand? Those are, what we sound like our tone. He's still supposed to give us our individual tones individually once we take those steps into the ancient Egyptian order initiation process. But do realize that you're still en route to it, because you still, when you hear yourself speak and you hear the deep voice coming out and you hear your vibration and you hear your tone, you are connected to it. You are somehow, somewhere connected to something that the Caucasoid, the Tamahu, can never get himself to getting to. He can emulate it all day long, and he can find a way to make you make fun of it, which connects you back to self-hate. But they know, you don't know, or the American Negro does not know, those that are still asleep does not know that is what you truly sound like. That is what your true tone really is. Not high pitch, not high sounds. They basically took what was right and turned it all the way upside down.
Right.
That is a problem. Yeah.
Anthony.
Any more questions?
No, I had one and I just forgot it.
You forgot it? That happens, man. It happens. It happens.
Oh,
it happens.
Okay. With the whole thing just about they use that machine, the collider. I guess that split up the different atoms and different beings from lower realms, and basically I was also building with a brother basically that most people die. A lot of people die between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock are the most deaths, and that's part of the reason why Baba always have you to do the chant at 3 in certain times, because of these certain spirit, these certain disagreeable forces.
Right.
I wanted to ask you the vibration of the sound "hu," right? H-U. What's that? What I don't understand that. I've gotten some cards from some Tamahus with the card that say "hu" on it, and I'm used to other tones and vibrations to chant, but what does that H-U sound mean?
It's a creative force of will. It's a sound, which means that when the first thing that happened in existence was a sound first, it's just the creative source of will. Before there was anything that happened, will had to happen first. There had to be a supreme form of will to happen first. That's why it's called a creative will. When you read further into the Holy and read further into Man Planet Risk, it talks about will. Again, the ability to 360 split up, 180, agreeable, disagreeable. Will. When you say the creative source of will, it's an utterance or a tone. When you had a Big Bang, when there was a Big Bang 76 trillion years ago, that's the creative source of will, or an utterance, or a tone manifesting something into a physical form. things that you didn't see, but they happened. That's why when you go into, again, the European paradigm structure of things, when they say, if a tree falls in the forest, did it really make a sound? Yes, it made a sound. You just wasn't there to hear it.
Right.
You understand? If you wasn't, for example, that's like, the Earth doesn't exist, the 19 galaxy, 18 galaxy doesn't exist because I didn't hear it. No, that's ignorance. Okay? When you say HU, based in physical sense of it, remember, you're going now to take you into HUHI. When we first learned who HU or Hua was, El Hua, the creative source of will, the 100 attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we were learning in it from an Islamic standpoint. Once we went into the Sumerian and Babylonian doctrine, we learned that Hua or Hu-He was deities, 2 male and 1 female. The 2 males of Enki and Enlil, and the 1 female was who? Nenti. They were the creative force of will because they would over the Adama project on the lab of Sidonia. Now, when you go even further into ancient Egypt, you find out those 3 deities were who? Sekhmet, the female deity, or Sekhmet, which is the warring eye of Re. Then you go into who Enlil was, and then you go into Enki who was Ta. Understand? These were the actual deities of Jah. They were the creative source of will, or meaning the creative source of creating something. So when you're going into who or Hu-He, that's why there was a true light tape. Oh, who is who? Who created Allah? The question was Allah. You just said it. You just said Allah. It was who? It was a reference. He gave you a tidbit of this information that you're asking about right now. It was a tone or utterance. He said Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala manifested himself into a form, specific point in time, meaning that at some point there was a state of nothingness. And so within that state of nothingness, the utterance or tone created itself or manifested itself into a physical form, therefore creating what we would refer to ourselves as a bang. But there are multiple times where Hua or Hu or Hu-He manifests itself. I may not be hearing something going on right now, just like you may not be hearing something going on right now. That is still Hu going on. Example, when the sperm hits the ovum, when you have intercourse with a woman, when the sperm hits the ovum, when it fertilizes, at that specific point in time, that is Hu. You understand? That is Hu-He, the creative source of will. That is a sound that you can't hear. She can't hear and you can't hear, but guess what? It is a sound that is happening at a specific vibratory frequency. The only ones that can hear that is individuals going through it, and there's a sperm in the ovum. So that is Hu going on at that specific point in time. That is Hu. That is the utterance, that is the tone at that specific point in time.
Wow, overstand. That's like a big bang in itself.
Exactly. That's a big bang. It may not be the big bang of Saul that created the Earth, the Moon, the stars of the 18th galaxy that's responsible for your creation or of our Milky Way or the 18th galaxy, but it's a bang. And it's important because if it didn't happen, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now.
Overstood, definitely. Definitely.
All right. Yeah. One more question before we close it out.
That's it. Oh, one more question. One more last question.
Sure.
is the third eye. Now, I've heard people talk about balancing the brain. You know how they got the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere of the brain.
Right.
Does that have to be balanced in order to get the third eye working?
You have to be en route to balancing it.
Okay, because I know you know, like the rules, you know, and how, you know, the Wazunga, the Tamahu make up rules to keep everybody in bondage, and that's, you know, the left brain and the right brain is just creative, whatever. But yeah, I really want to get more into that. What could I do? Is there stuff I could do to balance the brain?
It's learning to be more creative, because we spend most of our time following instruction from the beast.
True.
Most of our time is working a job. When we're in school, we're being told how to study. We're not allowed as Africans to learn from an African structure. So therefore, we go through school learning from a European structure. So therefore, we end up getting, you know, bad grades, C's, D's, hardly get B's, and rarely get A's, because we're learning from a European standpoint. Because we're learning to do what? We're learning to learn from a one-sided brain standpoint, which is to only follow direction. So it's not to be creative. It's not to be able to create, not just creative or on an artsy level, but to learn how to create. Because when you're following instruction, the person who's giving you instruction is your God. So he's teaching it to you in a way where if you go outside of him, you're being stunted. It's an alien thing. It's an alien standpoint. So when most people who came into right knowledge and they learned under my father, it took them years and years to break free from the beast man's thought pattern, because we see everything through his eyes. So we are only constantly learning from a skeptical standpoint. And when we learned through right knowledge, it was to create supreme balancement. It was to combine the part of you, which was the instructional standpoint, which was really the patience standpoint, the school of patience side, and to take on the other side, which was the creative or art level or the God side of you, and to mesh both to create 360 degrees. But we're only learning from one standpoint, so it's hard to even conceive what a third eye is. And so when you come in contact, you learn what the third eye is. That's another DNA explosion. That's another DNA explosion. So when the exercises that you can do, number one, as aside from just reading, is to be able to envision certain things. The way I learned is I envision what I'm reading, and I'm able to see it. So therefore, I'm able to create a specific mental, visual picture of self, of whatever I'm seeing, and I'm able to overstand it. You understand? So now, your job now is to be able to envision, use your imagination a lot more. Okay? Do things. Meditation is extremely important, meaning that our specific purpose on this physical plane is to be able to get back to 9, the 9th principle. Is to leave the body whenever you feel like it and go in and beyond, getting past this grid, this black hole, whenever you feel like it. Okay, you are in control of self. You are in control of true self at any given time. That's where that's where you are trying to get to. So you have to be able to envision certain things. The envisioned part of you was maimed the moment you learned from a European standpoint. They were able to take that away from you and say, no, that's not possible. So you know what you do? You take on Jesus. You take on Muhammad. You take on Moses. You bow them and worship them in my image. Therefore, I'm your God, and follow my instructions because I'm your God. You have to be able to completely, once you're able to wipe that part of it clean and wipe away that filth, out of your mind, then you are able to now sit, number one, relax, and let go. As my father said in the Who and What Are You tape, relax and let go. That is what you need to do now. Envision, the level of envision. If you can envision, and if you can be able to understand what you are envisioning, and you're able to see past where you are, because it's all about imagination now. It's about learning different things that create creativity, from even doing things like learning how to draw, because a lot of people who have come into right now were great artists. You know, great artists that are able to create, you know, spectrums of stars, spectrums of planets, so that you're able to, like I said, how I learned, I'm able to envision it, so therefore I'm able to show you exactly what is possible to you. So now, the exercise that you need to do now is you need to sit down at times, be able to take off or be able to block out all different instructions from the European world, and just sit down and envision at times leaving your body, and envision at times being that you can control. You can control anything around you. Envision that first. Get that type of exercise around you. Envision things around you first. The next level is there are different steps in AEO, different tones. There's a certain tone that I can't reveal on here because I'm not sure who's AEO or not, so I'm not going to give that out. But there are certain tones that you are supposed to say in your tone. And when saying those different sounds or different words or different things, you have to be able to envision yourself leaving self and self leaving the physical body. So it's all about imagination now. Just imagining yourself doing things that you didn't think possible before and making them manifest into the physical form. Okay?
Good, yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go into the anthem to end it. Abdur Ashatat Wabazun Amafergon Shapapa Ad Anuki Dapo Pa Ashak Shapapa Ad Wukalul Habab Kalun Dakhuni Anuki Kasum Un Shapapa Ad Wupapa Ad Kalun Kasum Un Shuni Anuki Wahu Ama Papa Ad Wupapa Ad Kalun Wahu Amani Nuk Abdur Nuk Naju Ama Kasam Un Shapapa Ad Wu Habub Ama Shakhafun Nuk Kadur Kawun Kalur Dik Nuk Rajub Dakhub Pafaad Salama Rajabni Kalun Bago Dakul Pafaad Anuki Yabu Bi Nafusni Pafaad Alun Anuki Pafaad Kadur Nuk Kadur Pafaad Paul Nuk Faul Estange Ilaku Tawat, everybody, and Hotep Wa'ashu.
Yep.